Hello everyone, fellow boxers. Today we're going to talk about and demonstrate the hook or side punch. So, Dima, the hook is thrown at medium and close range, but its true royal distance is still the medium range. Of course, it can also be thrown while moving in from long range and even from very awkward positions, as well as at close range. So there are some combined forms as well. In general, there are a ton of variations of the hook. For example, there is one variation of the punch called the whip, where the body moves back and the arm follows separately, creating a kind of whipping motion. It's a very effective punch. In the Soviet Union, this whipping punch was actually considered one of the hallmarks. It was taught and practiced everywhere. Here is one of the most fundamental hooks, the classic one, which is performed without lifting the arm away. So, not like this, but executed precisely together with the body. In other words, the arm simply moves away from the body. The main goal of a hook is, well, to strike from the side. That is, you can bring your arm in at any angle. You can bring it up from below, from above, or even in a straight line. The most important thing is to strike from the side. Put up your guard. This is where the hook lands. If I'm working the body, then the position of the fist is preferably, as they say, like holding a mug. My task is to get around this part, to go around it. That is, I can come in here, or here, here, and here. The thing is, with this kind of punch, the most important part is to get around the arm. That's why you can also pull your torso forward, so that on the return movement of the torso, you can drive the punch in there. You can immediately cushion it, or more precisely accelerate it with this turning part of your body. A hook is a very powerful punch. In terms of power, it's about the same as a straight punch. It's just faster because it's delivered in a straight line. So it's easier to accelerate a straight punch. The hook, well, it's not a slow punch either. It's also a very tricky punch, meaning it's quite deceptive. The specific feature of the hook, I'll say it again, is to fool your opponent with your movement. It is very difficult to see a line in a straight line. You practically can't see it, but from the side it's much easier to spot. That's why the hook is hidden within the body's movement. So when you maneuver with your body, how should I put it? When you make some faint defensive movements, you use those to hide the wind-up of your punch. I'll repeat once more. The punch can be thrown immediately, just like you throw a straight punch, and the hook as well, you bring it around behind the glove, specifically behind the glove. Not somewhere over here, but specifically behind the glove. That's the most valuable thing. Because most people think of hooks as just a sideways arm movement. But here, there is a clear, very clear, I'll say it again, classification of the punch. That is, the mid-range hook is very fast. It's almost invisible. Now, slowly, just like with the uppercut, try for now to simply throw your hand at the pad so that you get this angle. Let me explain once again about the position of this angle. The greater the angle you have, the weaker your punch will be. That's why the strongest punch is when, well, the position of the elbow is at about 50-45 degrees, when you can clearly connect your muscles at an angle. So now, look, there will be pressure on your arm, and you need to hold that pressure. See, it's performed by leaning in with your body weight. It's very important to stop this part at the right spot. It stops at the line of the leg. If you look closely, you'll observe it doesn't twist past this imaginary line, because if you twist it too far, it will end up being significantly too wide and sweeping. First, you lose time, and second, from this position, it's very awkward to maneuver or make any other move. Making a defensive move will be difficult. So the first thing you have are your hands. That is, your hands need to be in the right position for the strike, right along the line. There you go, good. And rotate on your axis. Yeah, spin, look at me. That's about right. Good. Now, there are a lot of questions specifically about the position of the fist. So, to explain this once and for all and clear up any questions about it. Look here. If you strike using the classic method with your palm facing the floor, bring it right under me. However, it's more comfortable for you. If you're striking from mid-range, how is it more comfortable for you to position it? Now, turn your hand. Now look, if I stand here, is it more comfortable for you like this? Why?
The surface area.
Well, it's not really about the surface area here. It's just the distance of the strike itself. But if I'm over here, then of course it's more comfortable for you to strike like this. Here, everything is determined by this angle. The shorter this angle is, the easier it will be for you to do it this way. It's the same if, for example, you're striking to the body, then definitely like this. I would even turn my hand a little more, making the angle even sharper. And now, using the classic palm down technique like this is dangerous, because you can injure your wrist here as well. You could just bend it the wrong way. So, to keep things simple for you, let me show you the easiest and, well, what is considered the most effective strike heights with your palm facing the floor when you're attacking the head. If you get closer to your opponent at a shorter distance, then this position here, what they call the beer mug grip, comes into play. Here, it's the same. You can strike the ribs using the mug position, because using this other position would be uncomfortable. And most likely, you'll end up injuring yourself. That's why you should practice and drill the strike both with the mug grip and the other way, because if you get used to only one form, sooner or later you'll get hurt because of it. Because, as I said before, the distance for a side strike can suddenly open up or, on the contrary, close in. And these positions are extremely important. So you literally need to drill them, figure out which is more comfortable for you, so you can execute the strike with confidence. So now, at medium range, with your palm facing the floor, you work on targeting the head. So the position is roughly like this. Now, not into the pad, but just aim directly. Try it. Now I'll raise my hands. And you need to come in right here, around where my shoulder is, okay? About like this, yes. Somewhere around here. Now to the body. See, you hit my arm. Now turn your hand like a mug. Turn it like a mug. See how it goes in like that? Yes. That's it. See how simple it is. Now turn your palm toward the floor and strike to the head. Does it go in? Now to the body, with your hand like a mug. You don't have to turn it too much. Yes, just a little. Look, there's another point here. Let me explain it too. In the dry version, in the training version, I don't know why, but everyone, without exception, defines side punches as rotating in place around the center, as if you were skewered on a spit. All these training models are like that. But to throw a side punch like that, your opponent would have to be standing like this. That is somewhere around here. Then this model will work. The thing is, a side punch can also be delivered along the axis. So I can throw it, look, from the back foot, I can throw it in the center, like I just showed you, and I can throw it while shifting my center of gravity to the front foot. So these are the variations that are considered. You hit here, and lean away, then hit. So 3 striking positions. All 3 positions are practiced on the boxing bag. This is a skill you develop when you can already sleep under and really highlight, well, how should I put it, one side. So you highlight with this and strike with this. You distract, then strike. Here, leaning in is essential. So it's done through a feint. The movement itself actually blends together. It's a very good, high-quality punch, you know. Here, you move in, you stand here, and you approach along this axis. All these 3 options, well, Each was created for a specific fight strategy. For example, if you take Frazier, he had long-range hooks, and the way Frazier threw them, well, hardly anyone else ever showed that. He executed it from a bounce in such a complex way and hit so hard that the great Muhammad Ali, bless him, really suffered a lot from those punches. By the way, he wasn't the only one who suffered. That was Frazier's signature punch. Mike Tyson also had extremely powerful hooks. He throws them with a step-in, using a very good transfer of body weight. And he throws them with all his might, like swinging a sledgehammer, completely shifting his weight from one side to the other. A very beautiful punch. And well, in Tyson's case, it wasn't even necessary to maintain that angle that's so favored in classic technique. Tyson could throw it even with a straight arm. So literally, as we say, he would swing it wide. This punch is very dangerous because it can injure both the elbow and the shoulder. That's why when people start explaining the position for a hook, they always refer to three main distances and three main types of this hook punch. There are actually more than 21 variations of the hook, so it also combines very well with other punches. For example, if you throw, roughly speaking, a left uppercut, it naturally sets you up for a hook either to the head or to the body. So after working from underneath, you immediately switch to a hook. The hook works very well together with slips and ducks. That is, the position when I, for example, go into a classic slip is actually the wind-up position for my right hand. So here, all I need to do is rotate around these axes. And that's why these positions need to be explained right away, because otherwise people just start swinging like they're knocking apples off a tree on a farm. So now, the first preparatory part of your punch is the extension of your arm, the part you can do without rotating your body. Just extend one arm. Yes, this is the very first form, just like that. Try to eliminate any movement in your torso and just knock it off with one arm. Now, to that rotation, add a slight movement of your hip toward me, moving straight ahead. There you go. And lean into the punch a little, lean in. So your movement is like a straight punch, a pushing motion, and the second part is rotational. That's what you do with your shoulders. Twist your shoulder even more sharply. One more thing, and this is also crucial for injury prevention, the position of your elbow. If you let your elbow go too far, you'll end up with a break in the bone or in the shoulder joint. If you leave your arm like this and hit with this part, you'll also injure your wrist right here. Exactly, and nothing good will come of it. Such a punch will never be strong. Or it might be strong, but only once. You throw the punch, end up in the hospital, and for at least 6 months you definitely won't be able to punch again. That's why this is the second part of the twisting motion. Now pay attention to the position of my shoulders. See how it is? So the shoulder comes down to the knee, or as they say, to the tip of the foot. This is the point where the hook punch ends. You don't need to overdo it and try to turn it all the way over there. Actually, it has a short range. Lift your shoulder up a little, just a bit. See how it rests on the shoulder? Well, you raised it too much. And bring your elbow out. You don't need to point your shoulder like a tip. This is not a punch. On the contrary, your shoulder should be tucked in. This is the correct position. Once again, this here is wrong. Move your shoulder back. You'll be hiding behind that shoulder. Forget about the punch for now. Just try lifting your shoulder. Press the handle. There you go. Now look, your shoulder is raised. That's your hook punch. That's it. You don't need to force anything here. One more time. Don't try to raise your shoulder on purpose. It'll come up on its own. There. See how good that is. That's the right way. Right side. Left hook. take a little backswing, you're allowed to rotate. Here, watch how to rotate. You can really spin it out. This is also one of the basic exercises to help you with the hook punch. So this is the rotation part. You can spin quickly like this. Just make sure you're not twisting with the leg, but instead this first part should be the main one. It shouldn't move away from your torso, so the rotation stays powerful. So just from the rotation alone, you build up momentum. It's the rotation in the hook punch that's fundamental. So while with a straight punch, it's really important to push off correctly and strike as you rise onto your toes. Here the main driving force is the rotation, because most often you might end up right here in your opponent's hands. And it's much easier to accelerate this part because there's nowhere left to push off from. And rotation, it's all about rotation. Moreover, you can put everything into it. Well, you can put everything into this rotation. That is, including the transfer of body weight, you see? And also these slight extensions during the strike, when you pull your arm back. See, that's how the arm comes out. So if one arm comes out, the other one doubles up, just in case, to protect you. It's the same here. The ability to strike from the side, I'll tell you, that's already second level. Because if this is considered a reflexive movement, by the way, this one is also a reflexive movement. Swatting away then a side strike, that's where it's tricky. It already has a special force, a force that's been prepared. And when you become aware of this force, that's when you can actually use it. Here, you can generate energy right from where you are. You don't need to push anything. You can just turn it sharply, powerfully, and quickly. That's why for your side strike to work like that, you definitely need to train it. In other words, you train it on equipment and it gets trained very effectively on the heavy bag. About 70% of the training comes from the boxing bag and you hit it from all angles. That's it. Now, let's try left and right on the center line. Just the simplest preparatory forms, as they say. Of course, with a step in, the punch is thrown a bit differently. You have to calculate the approach, the distance of the step, and how to lean in properly so you don't go past the line of the punch. Slowly. That's it. Rotate. Now try to lean in harder. Look at me. And keep your hand close. See? Good. Now, here's another point. Here's the position of this angle. This is where the strike is adjusted. Meaning, where exactly? Sometimes it's towards you. Sometimes it's away from you. So the position itself plays a very big role, you see? For example, I was here, right? And I need to throw a hook. I pull it out to the line of my shoulder. So, in order not to complicate things here, I just lift my shoulder. And my fist ends up in line with my shoulder. That's all there is to it. These are the kinds of nuances that come into play when you start punching from a stationary position. Because in a fight, it often happens that you don't have this perfect model where your hands move straight out from your head. Sometimes you move your hands back, deliberately pulling them away for certain punches, although it's not recommended. Nevertheless, it's one of the strategies for fighting. There are even cases where people manage to throw these wide hooks with their hands completely down. It's amazing how they manage to do that. So, how do you learn that? Now look, you build up momentum. And you add the left one. 1, 2. Now look, try not to linger near the pad. Hit. As soon as you punch, your hand comes right back. You punch, and it also moves away because the second one is already coming this way, right? Yeah. So you're trying to avoid that delay, right? That is, as soon as one finishes its movement, that becomes the start for the next hook. This one is over. You're already fully set up for the second punch, and so on endlessly. So you're following two principles. You're always punching and you're always punching from a guard. In other words, the hook itself not only attacks, but also protects you. Now, another very common question is about defending against hooks. The first defense is the slip, right? You twist, throw the punch, good. One more time, spin and struck. Now look, this time slip, move to the side. Now from this position, you just need to turn, spin around. That's perfect. When things like this happen, when you're extremely close, here the ability to turn only with a step is important. That is, you take a step to the side, to either side like this. And with that step, you already swing your punch in. First, we take a step here, diagonally, so we can throw the punch right here. That's right, one more time. There, you see? The punch works really well with a step. Honestly, whether it's a straight or a hook, what's great about them? They are very good on their feet. Basically, you can twist your body from almost any position. With a straight punch, well, it's a bit more complicated because there's this angle of the punch that lets you break down the acceleration part. But here, with the twisting, there's really nothing difficult at all. Again, I'm telling you, learn it once and that's it. Now, the hook to the body. No. Turn your hand. Like this, so it looks classy. See what's good about it? The pad is curved, and it's specifically designed for, as they say, correcting the punch. A precise strike right at the wrist. Again, I'm telling you, it's all about injury prevention. Your shoulder is wrong again. Lift your shoulder. There you go. Easy. You lifted your shoulder. Now get that angle. There you go. See how it goes now? That's it. Yeah, not like that at all. Now look, I'm going to throw a punch at your head. How are you going to defend yourself? What if it's like this? The first and most common mistake is when people raise their hand like this. Guys, don't raise your hand like that. Let me just explain this to you. This position doesn't protect you. First of all, if, God forbid, I hit your elbow with the edge of my hand, I could injure your shoulder joint. Secondly, this is not a defense. Yes, putting your arm up like this will soften the blow a little, but this line here is dangerous. So raise your arm again. If I hit you here from this side, do you see what the danger is? A strike can get through here. I can also redirect the strike. That's why when you raise your arm, lift it to the side. So there's this kind of offset. There you go. That's how you protect yourself. So you can immediately avoid a straight follow-up as well. And accordingly, you tuck your torso in, you tuck it so you have that twisting motion. That's correct. But don't pull your head back too much yet. You should always be able to see me. Yeah, look at me like that, slyly. There you go. One more time. Go. And look, now you already have the advantage for a swing. So now you can counter with this hook. Excellent. One more time. Again. Defended. Answered. Defended again. Answered. Just a little bit, Dima. That's right. Under the paw. There you go. That's where you're getting. Yes. A strike from above, that is. So besides this rotation, right? You can also use these kinds of things. For example, if you've driven him down here, you can twist him diagonally from above. So this is another very nice and clever modification that will definitely hit the arm. So first you defend like this. Second, you defend with a strike. Good job. That's correct. See how precise that is. Lateral again. Defend yourself. Side. Side. Defend your body by tucking in. Yes, right here, when you tuck in, you get the same effect. So just put your arm right here. I'm telling you, there will be an opening right here immediately. So right here, you see there's immediately a gap. That's why you also fold your arm here, just like you protect your head, see? So if you hold it like this here, you also place it like this here, so you don't get hit by the next strike. And accordingly, you can twist it a little, thereby setting up your next punch. No, to the body, let him go to the body again. Now look how to move your hand out of the way to strike to the body. You can't move it away like this, right? So you can do it with your body. Watch how I lean my torso. Let's do it from this side so it's clear. Look, you see, I tilt my torso a little. This is the trajectory. This is the trajectory of the hook to the body. I'll just show it plainly how it's done. See, that's it. So I just use my torso to deliver the punch. See how? One, and if I don't have a follow-up punch, I just return to the starting position. I pull back, punch, and return to the starting position. But if I throw the punch, this hand is already ready. So I can throw a straight, an uppercut, or another hook looping around the arm, either to the same spot. It's a very interesting punch. And what we're breaking down right now is just a theory. When you start drilling the hook, that's when you really feel its power, when you already understand all these angles and grasp from the perspective of fighting experience, where you can land a proper, powerful punch. Just flailing your arms around like that, well, it will be ineffective and look sloppy. Dear friends, fellow boxers, this is not all the information about side impact. We'll continue to demonstrate the technique on focus mitts, on the heavy bag, and directly in sparring. Because, well, in 15 or 20 minutes, it's impossible to convey the experience of an entire generation about just the hook. That's why we'll keep sharing more, focusing on the nuances of matches and the specifics of specialized training. So guys, watch and learn. Wishing everyone goodness and love.